Good morning, fellow American patriots, and welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Today, we're talking about the direction that our beloved country is headed in, and it ain't a good one. Have you seen the signs, felt the pressure, the tightening grip on what was once the beacon of freedom and democracy? Well, there's a word out there that tightens that grip, makes you feel the pressure, sends shivers down the spine of every freedom loving individual, and that word is authoritarianism. It's a heavy word, a dangerous one, and it's becoming all too familiar in the hallways of our government's power. It's a squeeze on our freedom of speech, a chokehold on our ability to choose, from the light bulbs in our homes to the security of our communities. But the grip of authoritarianism doesn't relent on just our personal liberties. It insidiously weaves its way further, infiltrating the very channels through which we seek truth and understanding. This manipulation extends beyond the tangible, folks, reaching into every fabric of information we receive. Today, we're going to cut through the BS. We're going to cut through the noise, the distractions, the deceit. Yes, the deceit. Because there's a story out here that the mainstream media, with their ever so tuneful orchestra of misinformation, the fake news, isn't telling you. And that story is about the ongoing crime crisis in America. A crisis that is seemingly invisible to those ensconced in the ivory towers of the liberal elite. Let's start with a question. Have you read this piece by Axios? GOP's crumbling case against Biden on crime? That's the headline. It's a masterclass in deflection and narrative as thin as paper it's printed on. And it's not alone. Oh, there's more. There's another report, this one by Third Way, claiming with a straight face that the real homicide problem is in red states. Yes, folks, you heard that correctly. They're saying that the real homicide problem is in red states. It's wild, it's head spinning, but this is the spinning and deflection from the Democrat Party and the Biden administration. Folks, crime rates in blue cities have been climbing since literally 2016. Why? Well, it's those progressive, pro-criminal, anti-police policies. It's as clear as day. And who's at the heart of this? George Soros-funded prosecutors who are more interested in playing politics than protecting you, the American citizen. Consider this, 27 out of the 30 cities with the highest murder rates are Democrat-run. These are not just numbers, these are communities, lives being torn apart by crime, and the Democrat Party doesn't care one iota. And yet, the left wants you to flip the script, make you believe it's Republicans and the law and order guys who are to blame. It's like blaming the firemen for the fire. They do the same thing with illegal immigration, blaming Republicans for the Democrats' handling of the southern border. We know this narrative all too well. So why this narrative? It's simple. The left is vulnerable. They know their policies have led to this surge in crime since 2016. And you, the American voter, you're not fooled. You know the truth. You see the dead bodies, the shuttered stores, the looting, the smash and grabs. It's hard to miss when it's on your doorstep. And let's not forget the rogue prosecutors. Kim Foxx in Chicago, pushed off the stage by her own party. Why? Because even they can't deny the soaring crime rates under her watch. But instead of addressing the problem, the Democrats want to play a game of smoke and mirrors. So the next time you read a headline claiming that crime isn't as bad as it seems, or that the dystopian chaos in our cities is the fault of Republicans, remember what's really going on. Remember the truth behind the spin and ask yourself, who's really looking out for you? And what about our classrooms? Once places of learning and enlightenment are being turned into factories of division and segregation. The irony is palpable. Those who decry segregation are literally the architects of a new kind of division, slicing up a society into even ever smaller segments. And just as we grapple with this internal unraveling, our attention is drawn to an insidious external influence, a shadow looming over our nation's future. An influence that is downright alarming and freaky. One that has been largely ignored, swept under the rug by those who would rather stay in the dark. But not here, not today, folks. The Bald Brad Show has you covered because we're shining a light on something that should concern every parent, every teacher, every American who cares about the integrity of our education system. We're talking about the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, and their insidious reach into the American K through 12 education system. Yes, you heard that right. Parents Defending Education, a grassroots organization committed to fighting against the indoctrination in our classrooms, has uncovered some shocking truths. This report, titled Little Red Classrooms, isn't a work of fiction. It's a chilling account of reality sent to 34 governors and key lawmakers. But remember, the Democrat Party does not want you to know this. Their agenda, smoke and mirrors. 2024 and before was and is all about control. If they keep this story of communists reaching into our education system from you, you have to wonder, what else are they keeping from you? Now, here's what they found. Millions of dollars from CCP-sponsored entities flowing right into America's classrooms. And what for? To push CCP propaganda under the guise of Chinese language and cultural programs. Think about it. The very heart of our nation's future and children being exposed to the influence of a foreign adversary. But the plot thickens. These aren't just any schools. We're talking about the schools near U.S. military bases and top science and technology high schools. The kind of places you think national security would be the top priority. Yet, there they are. 143 school districts across the United States engaged in contracts establishing Confucius Institutes and classrooms. But we should not expect anything different from this administration. The very administration that has a president that has received thousands of dollars from the Communist Party in China, the CCP, flowing from one sector, one business into his brother's bank account, into his bank account, and the Democrats don't want you to know anything about it. All smoke and mirrors, nothing to see here. The deranged president doesn't know what's going on. It was for rent. It was for a truck payment that his son couldn't finance. That's what we're told, at least. And let's not forget the words of the former Chinese Communist Party senior chairman, Li Chengcheng, who openly admitted that these Confucius Institutes are crucial. Yes, folks, you're hearing this correctly. Are a crucial part of China's overseas propaganda setup. If that doesn't raise red flags for you, I don't know what does. You have a president in the White House that is receiving money from the Chinese Communist Party, and you have a former Chinese Communist Party senior chairman openly admitting that these Confucius Institutes are a crucial part of China's overseas propaganda setup. But where's the outcry? The mainstream media, they're silent on this. They're too busy massaging the shoulders of Joe Biden and peddling their own narratives than to bother with a story that should be headline news. It's a disturbing trend, a trend that shows just how deep China's claws are buried into our education system, a trend we have seen all too much from this administration, and it's being lax on the China regime, the communist regime. Why? Because Joe Biden is in the pockets of the Chinese. We're not just talking about a foreign threat, folks. We're talking about a threat to our very way of life, to the values we hold dear. When the Chinese government has this much access to American classrooms, it's not just an education issue, it's a national security issue. Which begs the question, what are we going to do about it? Parents Defending Education is calling for immediate action, for investigations, for transparency. They're standing up, demanding answers, and so should we. And how can you demand answers? By backing Parents Defending Education, but also voting for a Republican candidate, preferably Donald Trump, in 2024. But it's funny because we're looking for transparency, and the Biden administration is touting transparency when they're covering up everything from classified documents to working with the Chinese government within our own education system. So as we peel back the layers of the story, remember, it's not just about what's being taught in our classrooms. It's about pulling and who's pulling the strings. It's about the protection of our children, our future, from the grip of authoritarianism that seeks to mold minds and influence hearts. It's a battle for the soul of our nation, and it's one we must be willing to fight. But it doesn't end there. The government's reach is extending, folks. It's intruding, deciding how you should live your life down to the smallest freaking detail. Surveillance, control. Is this the America we know, the America we want? If Joe Biden had his say in his way, every single American would be under surveillance. There's a story that has been hidden in the shadows, away from the prying eyes of the public. We're talking about the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, and their most controversial tool of surveillance. A tool that's now under threat. This isn't a plot from some spy novel. It's happening right here in our own backyard. The FBI's use of foreign intelligence granted by Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act is revealing some troubling misuse of powerful tech. This is the kind of tech that you intercept your electronic communications, mine, anyone's, without the Fourth Amendment protection. And now we're finding out that the FBI has been bending the rules, stepping outside the lines. Here's where it gets particularly interesting, you guys. A routine audit by the Department of Justice and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the top spy office, mind you, has unearthed new examples of the FBI failing to comply with the rules. We've seen this time and time again from the FBI. Hell, you've even seen Director Christopher Wray lie to Congress regarding the 1023 form with other members of Congress, such as Chuck Grassley. Now, these aren't small one-off mistakes. They're happening on a large number of occasions. What does this tell you? It tells me that there's a pattern here, a trend of overreach and misuse. Picture this. Just take a moment here. The FBI agents unlawfully searching raw FISA data, looking for evidence of foreign influence linked to U.S. lawmakers or digging into a local political party. These aren't just errors, folks. They're a clear misunderstanding or perhaps a disregard of the law. It's a troubling thought. Our own government's intelligence bureau, tasked for protecting us, might just be overstepping its bounds. And it's not going unnoticed. Lawmakers, those who have just risen to power, are pushing back, aiming to curtail how the FBI investigates crime. It's a pivotal movement and moment. A fight over the government's ability to spy on its own citizens, and it's happening right now in the halls of Congress. It's happening under the Biden administration. But let's not forget the past. Remember the wiretap on former campaign aide of Donald Trump in 2016? That's part of the story too. The wiretap was approved despite numerous FBI errors. It's another piece of the puzzle showing how surveillance, when left unchecked, can go awry. And remember, the theme here is Democrat Party control, Democrat Party authoritarianism. We're in 2024. It is an election year, folks. The question is, are you going to get out and vote? Because this is the country that Democrats want. This is the country that Democrats want to indoctrinate your children. This is a country where they're lax on China. This is a country where they're lax on national security in our borders. This is a country that, if left unchecked, can and will go awry. So what's at stake here? It's our privacy and our civil liberties. The FBI's errors aren't just bureaucratic slip-ups, folks. They're a breach of trust and misuse of power. And it's not just about spying on an individual or a few individuals. It's about the potential to invade the privacy of every American. The Democrats don't care. The big question now is, what happens next? Because Congress is at a crossroads. Do they extend the FBI's surveillance authority, or do they rein it in? It's a debate that will shape the future of our national intelligence operations. And if the Democrats had their say in it, you know which one they would choose. As we sit here today, we must ask ourselves, who's watching the watchers? Who's ensuring that our rights aren't being trampled on in the name of national security? There are questions that demand answers. And as this story unfolds, remember, it's not just about the FBI, it's about the very fabric of our democracy. Then there's the figurehead of this transformation, President Biden, the knucklehead, the guy that fights with the teleprompter, and his teleprompter is in fact undefeated. A man of many faces over the years, now the poster child for a party that seems bent on reshaping America into something unrecognizable. The New Deal, once a lifeline in troubled times, is now being repackaged as a tool for this transformation. Looking towards 2024, it's clear. The goal is not just to win an election, folks, but to alter the nation's course fundamentally. The machine behind the man is whirling to life. The Unity task forces gathering steam. Unity. Their objective? To push the nation into a sharp left turn, back to a past we've worked so hard to learn from. The stakes are more than high, they're existential. We've not just chosen our leaders. nor are we choosing our upcoming leaders. We are deciding the future of our republic. This is a clarion. This is a clarion call to every patriot, every citizen who believes in the founding principles of this country. As we approach the crucial 2024 election, remember, every vote cast is a statement, a declaration of values, a pledge to uphold the American promise. This is a vote for the republic, for the enduring principles that have sustained it, for the preservation of a future where liberty reigns supreme. But the Democrats don't want that, folks. The Democrats want control. They want authoritarianism. They want the CCP to be in our education system, in our classrooms, to indoctrinate our children in conjunction with the left, to destroy this country from the inside out. So when the time comes, let your voice be heard. Let your voice be heard loud and clear. Cast your vote not as a mere preference, but as a guardian of liberty, a defender of the republic. Choose to reaffirm the principles that have made America the shining city on the hill. Folks, this is an important year. It's a year that could be led to chaos, dysfunction, or with our vote, can be led into a year of rebuilding, can be led into a year of order, and folks, could be led into a year where somebody, maybe Mr. 45 turning 47, can make America great again. Well, folks, until next time, stay vigilant, because you are true American patriots. Keep the torch lit of liberty, because in America, the flame of freedom must never be extinguished. Have a blessed day, and God bless America.